Today, I want to talk about how to get an out of the boat blessing. Morning Boost starts right now. Why am I over here when I'm supposed to be over there? I was sitting one day watching a game show and I just heard those words. Why am I over here when I'm supposed to be over there? We spend our lives being intimidated by what has happened, intimidated by what's happening now, and living in fear of what will happen in our lives. Well, God is saying to us that He wants us to take a leap of faith. And I want to read to you what He had to say to me about a chandelier and a lamp. Okay? It said, instead of taking a leap of faith, we settle into what is comfortable, like a chandelier hanging from the ceiling, or like a lamp that sits on the end table year after year because it looks good and it feels good. What if that same lamp looks good on a table in a house down the street? Or what if that same chandelier puts off a grander light hanging in the building 2 blocks over? Unlike the chandelier and the lamp, which has to be moved, we are empowered. God has empowered us to move ourselves right into the building, the job, and the state that He's prepared for us. It's an amazing thing that He already has opportunities laid out for us that we can just take. We can go ahead and take access to. We can just go ahead and access the things that He's prepared for us. But because of fear and because of intimidation, sometimes we don't walk into the things that God has for us to walk into. Now, I know I've talked about this before, but this is something that He said to me. So why am I over here when I'm supposed to be over there? It's something when we can become a banker when we're supposed to be an events planner, or we become a corporate president when we're supposed to be at home with our children as a homemaker. It's amazing when we are not following in the footsteps that God has prepared for us. And then it's amazing that we don't see the blessings that God has prepared for us because of it. Let me read on and tell you some other thing He says. Going against the grain is one of the most productive things a person can do for himself and those he loves. Peter went against the grain. Do you remember the story about Peter walking on the water? In Matthew chapter 12, Jesus had just finished feeding 5,000 with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. And He had told the disciples, okay, I want you to go on over on the other side. And as He sent them away, He went up to pray. And as He's praying, a storm arose and the disciples are sitting in the boat and they're so afraid of what's going on. Then all of a sudden, in the fourth watch of the night, they see somebody walking on the water and they become fearful and they say, well, who is that walking on the water? We're so afraid. Fear just intimidated them to the point where they were just so scared that somebody, a ghost or something, was coming to get them. Well, Jesus says, no, it's me. Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. A miracle takes place then. This type of miracle was unheard of and appears to be the first of its kind that the disciples had been witness of. Peter challenges Jesus by saying, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. I'm going to say it again. Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. Jesus simply says, come. Just on Jesus' word alone, Peter gets out of the boat and he begins to walk on water. He gets out of that boat, out of the comfort zone, out of the place where he's familiar with. He gets out of it and he begins to walk on water. Now, as he's walking on water, of course, he's looking at Jesus, but then he began to look around him and he see the wind is boisterous and all kinds of things are happening with the waves and different things. And he says to himself, well, he doesn't say it to himself, but you know that he said to himself, oh, I'm walking on water. The wind is blowing and the waves are moving. And what in the world is going on? Then all of a sudden, Peter begins to sink. Now, here's one little thing I want to tell you. Before Peter walked on the water, the wind was already boisterous. When Peter was walking on the water, the wind was boisterous. And when Peter began to sink, the wind was boisterous. So we know that that had nothing to do with whether Peter could walk on water or not. So Jesus is telling us something in this passage. There are three things that we can learn from this passage. The first thing is Peter asked Jesus a question. He said, Lord, if it's you, let me come walk on the water. Have you ever asked God anything, or have you asked him anything lately? Have you asked big for him to show you some things in your life lately? Peter took the time to ask the question, if it's you, let me walk on the water. And Jesus says, come. Ask the Lord to tell you what you need to do to get out of the boat and walk on water, to get out of your boat of complacency, your boat of comfortableness, your boat of just being whatever you are right now. Ask him to help you to get out of the boat. Ask him, Lord, if it's you calling me, if it's you telling me, bid me to come, and then you'll go on Jesus's word alone. Here's the second thing. When Peter asked the question, Jesus said, come. He didn't stay in the boat after he got an answer. He got out of that boat, and Peter began to walk on water. Complacency and what is common can keep us from moving out into God's path. Too often we stay where we are because of family, familiarity, and fear. The fear of failure and the fear of the unknown. Too many what ifs. Getting out of the boat can make things uncomfortable, make you feel unbalanced, or cause apprehension. However, when Jesus says come, getting out of the boat can cause you to have an out of the boat blessings, miracles and blessings like you've never seen before. Here's the third thing. Peter kept his eyes on Jesus until he saw the wind boisterous. You have to ask yourself, when Peter was walking on the water, was the wind blowing? As I said earlier, the wind was blowing when he was walking on the water. The wind was blowing afterwards. The wind was blowing before. So that had nothing to do with whether Peter could walk on the water or not. So no matter what's going on around you, it does not determine whether you can get out of the boat and whether you can walk on water. What determines that is, what did Jesus say to you? What did Jesus say? What did the Lord tell you to do? What did the Lord call you to do? What did the Lord tell you get out of that boat for? What is it that he has planned for you? Then you can get out of the boat and walk on the water like Peter did. And so Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, but here was the third thing again. Keep your eyes on Jesus, because when Jesus tells you to come, he's telling you to come. He's going to guide you all the way and lead you to where you need to be. And this is the last thing I have to say today to you. I want you to keep shining, folks. Keep shining.